Live from a studio apartment, this is Misinformation at 1:13 in the morning my time. So I'm going to try to keep my voice low because there's neighbors probably not having sex above me, but I should still be respectful. So we all got to get up for work tomorrow. What's up? We got a great show tonight. Maybe a quick show. I don't know how long I'll hang out, but just popping in. We're gonna go over some. There's a Chinese bot farm that's been attacking U.S. data centers, propaganda-wise. We'll get into that in a little bit. There's also talk about immigration. We got both of the L.A. mayoral candidates coming out and supporting street vendors and trying to take away all the prohibitions there, but not doing too much for small businesses, strangely, as is the communist way. So we'll discuss that a little bit. Maybe get into some mental health, maybe my mental health at 1 in the morning doing a live stream. We'll see. First, we'll start with some jokes. Give me a sec. Let's do this guy here. Cool. Well, a rise in autism diagnoses has been attributed to a lowering of the criteria, including women who believe Lindsay Clancy's husband did it. Yeah. They previously weren't included in the group, but now clearly autistic. Skewed the numbers. Well, a Panda Express customer was left stunned when he witnessed an employee stepping on the food while cleaning the kitchen. Yeah. Luckily, he was already ordering the General Tso's chicken. It's hard to look at that, both because of the AI food, which is already disgusting, and then the toe. We'll see horrors beyond comprehension with AI. Alright, what are we doing here? Well, LA City Council member Nithya Raman is facing criticism for taking a year to paint a crosswalk. Yeah, she posted it up on her social media. Yeah, well, to be fair, at least this one's straight. She did get it straight, which has been a problem for LA crosswalks for quite some time. All right. Them's the jokes. And we're going to get into some news stories. So, I mean, this is the top story. Oh, let me pull up the twit. This is the top sort of story. This is my teleprompter, by the way. Not AI, I write them all. You can tell by their low quality. But I do have an AI teleprompter that scrolls through them because I'm not memorizing that crap. Anyways, this came out earlier tonight, like a couple hours ago. I guess this is from X, their global government affairs team. It says, the X safety team conducted an investigation into suspected Chinese inauthentic accounts involved in influence operations. We identified a bot farm of approximately 200,000 accounts. Wow. Within this farm, we found 200 accounts posting in a manner that could manipulate a legitimate debate about American AI and energy policy. These posts contain claims that AI data centers are driving up household electricity prices and straining the grid. Others included AI-generated cartoons that depicted data center operations enriching themselves at the public's expense. We remain committed to maintaining an open and authentic platform where people debate topics of public interest. We take seriously any attempts to undermine the integrity of the global town square and suspend accounts that violate our authenticity policy. So this was pretty interesting to me. I mean, you would expect more bot activity in general as we're approaching an election cycle here. Somebody on Twitter was saying something like the current estimate is that like 10 to 20% of accounts on all social media platforms are theoretically supposed to be bots, but that can increase during election years to like 40%. Like you just get a lot of propaganda and a lot of phony accounts coming in and trying to sway public opinion. What's startling about this is Chinese accounts coming in and trying to sway American public opinion on AI data centers, which is obviously very important to the Chinese people right now, right? I call it like the moon race, like the new moon race, the one that actually means something. Like we had the, was it with China in the old moon race or was it Russia? I can't remember which one it was. But we had the big moon race in the 1960s, I think, late 50s, early 1960s. And the AI race is kind of like the moon landing to me, except whoever gets to the moon first creates AGI, basically, has the one ring. The ring of power can rule the entire world, basically, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think we definitely would rather it be us than China. China thinks differently. So they're trying to influence American public support of data centers in a negative way to try and slow our AI growth. So here are some of the things that I guess they were posting. Now, there are some tells that these might be from Chinese accounts. I don't know if you can... That doesn't look like a Thomas Jackson to me. I just picture all the Chinese as anime girls. I know that's Japanese, but anyways, data centers get subsidized while we foot the bill. Capacity shows, so they're doing little cartoons, probably made by AI, ironically. I was doing this the other day where I was complaining about AI, but also using AI-generated images in my videos, and it was like, yeah, I like it for the videos. I just think it's also probably going to conquer us, but there's another Japanese or Chinese anime. The AI industry is booming, but the costs are being borne by ordinary people. So you can see they're doing a lot of stuff here. What these farms are is they're basically like these big rooms, almost like warehouses, where they'll have like hundreds and hundreds of iPhones just set up on stands, and several people, and those people go from like phone to phone posting these types of things on X or in message boards. The more prosperous computing power becomes, the greater the pressure on the power grid, while ordinary consumers have no choice. So it's the type of stuff that they were posting, and I guess X found them out, discovered them. I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, it's such a consequential moment, this race to AI, and to be the first to reach artificial intelligence, because whoever reaches that first basically controls everything, right? I was thinking about the war in Ukraine, where it's basically you have Russia and the United States, and they're sort of fighting a proxy war over Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's kind of aligned with China, right? Now, as far as like Russia's AI development, I haven't heard too much about that. I keep hearing about China and the US as being like the top two dogs in the AI race. I don't know that Russia's really like building a strong AI program. So if you're Russia, who would you rather see win the AI race? I'm going to say probably China. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at it from Putin's perspective, right? Would it be that crazy to instigate an actual physical war with the United States if what's actually on the line is AI control of everything, right? I'm not saying he'll do this. I was thinking about it the other night. I was like, it wouldn't be that crazy a wager from Putin to try to slow the U.S. from reaching AI or artificial or AGI in order to boost China's chances of getting there, right? Because there was some talk about potential war between Russia and the U.S. on social media, so I was just thinking about that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more of these bot farms from China, especially as we approach the election cycle. Would look out for that. There's also some talk about immigration. This was from Chef Gruel. He's like a kind of a conservative leaning chef, kind of famous now, I think, on X. And he's talking about basically in California and Los Angeles, I think these are both the remaining mayoral candidates, Karen Bass and Nithya Raman. They're both trying to loosen restrictions and talking publicly about doing away with restrictions and violations on street vendors. Street vendors are the people who come out, they sell hot dogs or tacos from little street carts, oftentimes right in front of legitimate businesses, kind of pulling from their sales, right? And both of them are trying to show that they support like the common person, illegal immigrants who happen to be in the city by supporting these street vendors, right? Here was an article that he was commenting on from Epoch Times. Californians are legally turning their home kitchens into restaurants without ever renting commercial space. Cool for them. The Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operation program lets residents offer limited dine-in, takeout, and delivery services from their own homes. Operators can sell up to 30 meals a day and 90 a week with annual sales capped at $100,000. Participants say it has given them a path to financial sustainability while serving cultural recipes in small batch dishes that would be hard to launch otherwise. These are some of the kitchens here.
That you have a passion about. I think it could always be a scary thing to follow your dreams, but they say that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and that is how I feel. So do it. They look at me and say I'm a güera making tortillas, you know? And they may not think my tortillas taste good until they try them.
I mean, look at Canelo.
That's right. They do have a little bit of flour because that is the way that I was taught, but in Mexico they make them like straight from the corn, and they you could say they blend the corn.
So what Chef Gruel is pointing out is, why does a restaurant have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars meeting commercial building, fire, ADA, and health codes, while someone selling similar food from home doesn't face the same requirements? I think we all know the answer. And he brings up a good point, because I actually like this. I like the idea in general of letting like little home cooks cook a sort of limited amount of food from their home. But at the same time, there's just so much pressure on small businesses, particularly with the restaurant industry. You know, the margins are so thin there to begin with all of the taxes, the health code inspections. You know, there's a little local coffee shop down the street from me that's a great place. They used to have like the best little table in the back where you could sit down, got the best Wi-Fi. But they had like this pillar kind of in the middle of the flooring area where you could go around the pillar and everything. But I guess there's just a certain amount of space that you need to have in any walkway to meet Americans with Disability Act requirements. So like theoretically, if someone with a wheelchair came in, you know, I think they could still get around actually, because I've seen plenty of people with wheelchairs there, but like it didn't meet the code, right? It wasn't the prescribed minimum amount of space. So they had to get rid of the nice table in the back and everything, right? And I'm sure they got a bunch of violations for it too. So these people that launch these small businesses, you know, they're basically these same people here. It's the same people selling the food from the home. They're just a little bit more enterprising. They go out, they actually invest their entire life into a business. They kind of risk it all to have a small business, to meet all those health code, commercial building, fire requirements. And then you see somebody like that just be able to do pretty much the same thing from their own home with much less restrictions, which isn't fair. And obviously the reason to do that is because if you're the mayoral candidate of LA, of course, you have to support illegal immigrants. You have to support people working from home, right? And like making less money somehow, but you need to support that. You can't support small businesses from actually succeeding. Those are the bad guys, right? This happens a lot in San Diego, actually. I live in downtown San Diego. I'm like 5 blocks from Gaslamp, which is like our version of 6th Street in Austin, or like one of the major strips where there's all the bars, you know. And there's street vendors who go out there and they sell hot dogs. They all sell like TJ style bacon wrapped hot dogs on like Friday and Saturday nights, right? Friday, Saturday nights, you get all the party goers, all the college kids come out there. It's just packed, right? It's a bunch of restaurants, bunch of pubs, taco shops where they can go in and get food. But what these street vendors will do, and it's not like I hate on street vendors, but they'll actually come and they'll post up. There'll be like 2-3 of them sometimes, and they'll post up directly outside of the door to all these restaurants. So it's not like they're going into a parking lot where you could pass by them. They're actually siphoning off directly the customers and the money from these restaurants and these small businesses who do have to pay property taxes and who do have to come in and meet health codes, ADA, all these requirements. You got a street vendor now siphoning off, I would guess, 20% of their sales every night. Because, you know, if you're a drunk person walking down the street in this big packed street, you see a big line at the actual taco shop, but then there's 3 food carts right outside the door, literally selling hot food for like $10 a pop. You're just going to pick that and not stand in line. So these businesses lose a ton of money. There are supposed to be codes in San Diego to where they can't post up in that area, specifically because of that reason, because it's a commercial area with small businesses that operate there. But for the most part, San Diego basically turns a blind eye to it. They don't enforce it. They don't issue violations anymore. I see it literally every weekend. There's got to be 30, 40, maybe, 40 probably street vendors out there just throughout the entire gas lamp, all posted up outside of some restaurant's door. You know, there was actually a controversy a little while. Let's see if I have the video here. There was a pub that had been over in Gaslamp. This happened about a year ago, I want to say. There was a pub. It was like an Irish pub that had been in the Gaslamp for like years and years and years. And they weren't doing so well. And they went out of business. And on like the last night that their doors were open, I believe this was the owner. The owner came out of the pub and got pissed at one of the street vendors who was posted up outside and knocked over his cart. Let's see if we can play the video here.
Drop, bitch! You bitch! Drop! You dumbass little fucking bald-headed ass bitch! Fuck you, bitch! Drop! What's wrong with you, bitch?
You not serious about this, bitch! We want to scam motherfuckers on their credit cards? Fuck you! You're scamming ass, bitch! Fuck you!
Alright, so Hendry's is acting really weird. I don't know what's going on. We're just trying to.
Hendry's is literally just closing down because it's time to close down. And
No, Hendry's is permanently closing down
Exactly.
in a couple weeks.
No, today.
Today. So that's why. That's what I was asking. So you guys are letting the friends.
Yeah, so that was a story I heard, was that he was pissed about all the food vendors standing outside of. I mean, you think they're closing down for financial reasons. There's a vendor who doesn't have to pay those same fees literally posting up right outside their freaking door, which is part of the reason, right? And then you have Nithya Raman, I think I have a video over here, basically pandering for the vote, pandering to illegal immigrants, and saying that they are going to stop issuing fines to street vendors, and that it's hard for them to operate. Seem to be doing just fine here.
I guess in the quickest summary, what is the new plan?
Well, it is actually working to make sure that street vendors can come into code. Right now, our state codes and our county codes make it very hard for street vendors to ever operate legally on our city streets. The city, if we really want to regulate street vendors and to do it right, we have to do real advocacy both with the state and the county level to ensure that we're pushing them all in the right direction. We also have to make sure that county fees are lower. County fees are so high that it's often unmanageable for many street vendors to meet. And we want to make sure that we're doing the advocacy to do the same thing that I did at the city, which is cut permit fees to something that's actually affordable for vendors.
I guess in the quickest summary, what?
And again, you know, I'm not totally hating on street vendors. They're fun. They're fine. The problem to me is when they're not having to meet the same requirements that small business owners are. And when they're siphoning off customers from small businesses by posting up right outside their doors. It's one thing if they're allowed to be in a parking lot somewhere off on their own, that's fine. But standing outside of people's restaurants or bars and siphoning off customers should be really illegal. They should be arrested on the spot. It's unbelievable. So let's talk about street vendors in LA. Nithya Raman here was, people were mocking her. I had the joke about this earlier. They were mocking her because she proudly posted on social media this accomplishment of hers, which was the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council alerted our office in late 2025 to the need for a crosswalk at Sunset and Bates, which has just been completed. Thank you to our incredible team for continuing to problem solve, push for solutions, and make our streets safer. You painted yellow lines on the street. You tell me that took a team? That? So people were punking her. Here was Nikita. You're tried. That was funny. Took you almost a year to paint a crosswalk. Are you proud of that? Literally painting over the cracks. So, yeah, it's just inefficiency. Kind of shocking that they're bragging about it, or she's promoting this as a huge accomplishment. So we'll do a little bit of mental health news since there's nothing exciting going on in the world apparently. Trump's taking a break for unknown reasons. The Democrats are trying to stay unwoke, so they're saying less crazy stuff. I mean, it's a choice, I guess. Here's some stuff on depression since we've been talking recently about SSRIs. I don't think they work at all. I think they are a bane. And here's somebody saying, Nicholas Fabiano, he's pointing out this article from Journal of Affective Disorders. He says a sense of meaning is associated with lower depression. Purpose is a potent antidepressant. I actually think it's the only antidepressant. Kind of, maybe exercise, but it's sort of tied into the same thing. But here's the little article. It's basically saying depression is a public health issue. Previously, studies have analyzed the relationship between meaning in life and depression. Kind of obvious, right? But people forget it. But there are discrepancies in the conclusions. So anyways, they did some study, found that age moderated the relationship. Basically, they found a study that if you're useful, you're probably less depressed, right? And this is sort of how I view depression, actually. I have a sad theory, actually, that depression is sort of natural, and that people really, like, I'm talking about like the end stage depression where you kind of don't want to be here. I think that people get that feeling for the most part when they feel like they are no longer useful, and when they feel like everything's hopeless. You know, you can be depressed, you can feel bad, but if you feel hopeless, if you could feel completely useless to other people, that's when you start getting into the bad parts, right? I've had some depression myself, and I've had the two, to be honest. So I know that when I've had the worst kind of depression, it's been when I've been both of those things, hopeless, or felt like I was no longer had a purpose, right? So they sort of go hand in hand. And I think generally the way to cure that type of ideation or thoughts, I would just advise anyone who's feeling those thoughts of depression and kind of not wanting to be here, the easiest thing that you can do to turn that around is to try to make yourself immediately as useful as possible to other people around you. Find whatever you can to be of use to someone else. That's why I think Mickey Rourke was talking about this once in an interview where he'd gone through some bouts with depression, and it was talking about this when his dog died. And he was basically saying that dog had gotten him, had basically been the reason he'd kept going all those years, right? Because he had this dog to look after. So if you have a family, I think that's great, because a family gives you that sense of like having to care for other people, do things for other people. But even if you just have a dog, even if you just get a dog, something that you have to care for, something that you can be of use towards, that can be really helpful with stuff like depression. SSRIs are just sort of, to me, there's still no studies that conclusively show that depression's a chemical imbalance at all. I would lean towards more it's a natural feeling that you're either feeling like you're of no use any longer, or you're just feeling generally sad, which is the pain that you feel emotionally that tells you need to do something different, you need to go in a different direction. Same as when you put your hand on a hot stove, your body's going to tell you, hey, this doesn't feel good, we should stop doing that and do something else. I think depression works the same way. It's basically your brain's way of telling you, hey, what you're doing right now with your life doesn't feel good, it's dangerous, we need to go do something else, right? Not take a pill. There's been a lot of talk. Somebody was posting this online today about he starts off good and then he nosedives for me. He says there's a reckoning coming for the psychiatric profession and the iatrogenic harm caused by the overprescription of antidepressants. Good so far. And then he goes, and it could come at no better time, clearing the way for safer and more effective psychedelic therapy. Read more here. Which I know there's a lot of people who support the psychedelic therapy, mushrooms. Oh, just take a little bit of mushrooms, it works tons better. And there's all these anecdotal stories of people taking mushrooms once and their whole perspective changes, their whole life's better. Or microdosing psychedelics. It's like, when will people ever learn? Yeah, you can take mushrooms, it will change your perspective for a little while. That's kind of what mushrooms do. But at the end of the day, it's another handful of drugs. It's not going to fix all your problems. It's not going to fix your depressions. And I really don't think that the solution to a depressed person is to put them on hallucinogens for the rest of their life. That sounds potentially way worse to me. And listen, I have an extensive drug history. I know mushrooms well. Those things are not always good times at all. I've had some bad trips. You can have like PTSD, bad kind of anxiety trips from those things. So they're not like this cure-all therapeutic. I think the idea of microdosing them is horrible. You're giving people small doses long-term of hallucinogens. Oh, that sounds like nothing can go wrong there to me. Can't wait to see the studies in 20 years from that. Potentially the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but I know that everybody loves them and people are going to go on mushrooms and think they're curing their depression rather than exercising, becoming useful to other people, and finding a purpose for their life, which, who knows, maybe that might help more than just getting high. I don't know. Maybe more than ketamine. So, yeah. This was an interesting article on schizophrenia. We're just doing fun mental health stuff tonight. This was super interesting to me. Why do schizophrenics hear voices? I think it was interesting because we just have the Lindsay Clancy case. It's all over social media where she claims to have heard voices in her mind that were commanding her to do things. Sort of unrelated here because that's a whole different thing. But they're talking about schizophrenics and why they hear voices, right? The article starts, in a way, you're never alone. Your inner consciousness is always there to keep you company. That voice inside your head is reliably available for conversation. These intensely personal and comforting self-to-self dialogues are splayed across the humdrum of a typical day, blah, 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 blah. But what if there was a foreign voice inside your head? An entity over which you could exact no control? Wouldn't that be an invasion of privacy? So they go into, basically, for the majority of schizophrenics, that's the experience, is they hear a voice in their head which they identify as not their own. So the article talks about this neuroscientist, David Eagleman, who did some work on the brain's perception of time. And he has a very different theory of schizophrenics and why they hear other people's voices in their mind. So he did this study, I guess it was back in 2006. They conducted an experiment in which subjects were simply asked to press a button. Doing so would instantly cause a nearby light bulb to blink, like right when they press the button, right? The researchers then added a slight tenth of a delay between the press of the button and the light coming on and asked them to keep pressing it. So now they're noticing they press it and there's a small delay. Now for the grand finale, the researchers removed the delay and watched as something completely perplexing happened. The subjects, utterly flabbergasted, insisted that the light would come on before they even pressed the button. So now that the delay is, they basically established it, created a delay, and then removed the delay. And now the perception of the subjects is that even though the light's coming on when they press it now, because the time's a little wonky in their mind, they've been duped by the delay being removed. They see the light as coming on before they press the button. So they see the light as acting independent of their actions now. Okay? And this is what he thinks is happening with schizophrenics. His whole theory is that with schizophrenics, their perception of time is similarly thrown off. So that when they hear a voice in there, when they hear their own inner monologue, basically, which we all hear, they don't connect it that their actions are causing the voice. They hear the voice first and they think it comes into their mind before they could have the thought, right? So he theorizes that delay in perception of time, or that wonkiness, is what creates the sense that someone else is speaking to them, which is a very different experience, right? And then they've done studies on schizophrenics, and apparently schizophrenics do have different perceptions of time than other people, which would seem to support that. So this is just a theory. I was reading about it today, but it does sound interesting. It would be interesting if all that was happening was there was just a delay in their ability to process the perception of time. Get that. What else? I mean, we had some stories about Marco Rubio announcing sanctions on several left-wing terrorist networks. There was talk about Trump. These are the political things. Trump renamed Lake Ontario, I think, to Lake America. I feel like the news is so boring that Trump's just doing reruns now. Didn't we see this same episode with the Gulf of Mexico already? Becoming the Gulf of the Americas. Now he's just rerunning the same joke over and over again. The stuff that is, I think people are not happy with the Iran war as it's going right now. They're not happy with the economy and their gas prices and their food prices. And so they're not really interested in the reruns and the stuff that's just sort of more face value things, which seems to be happening now. It's just people doing face value stuff. These might be the terror networks that they're calling terrorist networks now. They might be actual supporters somehow. I haven't looked into this too much. I know that one of the Krasenstein brothers is supposedly in trouble for trying to donate to them after they were announced as a terrorist organization. But yeah, that's probably it for tonight. It's a little bit later, so we'll wrap it up early. My phone's about to die anyways, but it's fun. I'll be back tomorrow night. I think tomorrow night at like 9 p.m. Hopefully do the show earlier. This was just a late one tonight. Had some technical delay.